Yeah. You're like, "Welcome to the real world, friends."
Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of On the Verge. I need to start counting how many episodes this is, but I think we're probably pushing 60 now, somewhere in that
Real
neighborhood.
close.
But welcome back, and we have an exciting guest tonight to talk about, actually to have a conversation with. But first of all, this is On the Verge. This is your conservative voice of Southern Oregon. We've been doing this now for going on 2 years, Trent, I
Going
think.
on 2 years. Wow.
And yeah,
Really?
we've grown quite an audience, and we are going to continue to do that. I am Virgil Osborne. I'm your House District 2 representative. And I'm going to just introduce my guest tonight, and then I'm going to give everybody a chance to log in. So I want to talk a little bit about wildfire stuff, and then we'll get into kind of the meat and the potatoes of our guests. But first off, I want to introduce our guest, Christine Drazan. Christine, Senator Drazan, tell us who you
Mhm.
are.
Hi, Virgil. It's great to be with you guys tonight. Wish I was in studio. I will join you next time in studio.
We'll love to have you.
I'm an Oregonian, and this is my favorite time of year around here. I love summers in Oregon. I'm originally from Southern Oregon. I was born in Klamath, graduated at Eagle Point High School outside Medford, and I have been living up in the metro area kind of as an adult ever since coming up here for George Fox College. My husband and I have been married 29 years, which is crazy to think about. And we've got three kids. They're 25, 22, and 19. And I am in the state Senate at this point. Miss you guys in the House. I represent Senate District 26. which is parts of Wasco and then Hood River, East Multnomah, and parts of Clackamas County up here. And I was just in Sherman County today to talk wildfire with some of the folks that whose properties are impacted year after year and do initial response as landowners up there. So I'm excited to hear your update on wildfire. But at the moment, I am also the Republican nominee for governor, kind of fighting for hearts and minds and doing my part to work with Oregonians to turn our state around. But I'm super excited to be here today. Thanks for having me, Virgil.
And thanks for joining us. And Christine, you and I have worked together now for, I guess, off and on for what, 4 years, as long as I've been in the House, and you've been our leader in the House for a while. I was on your leadership team, so we got to know each other pretty well. And I appreciate everything you've done for the state, and it is a lot. You have done a lot. I mean, and I know sometimes being a standout in the state, you don't get the credit you deserve sometimes, and sometimes you get the credit you really don't want. But we're pulling for you. Also, I have my co-host Trent. Trent, who are you?
Hey everybody, Trent Drake. I am the Douglas County Republican Central Committee Chair, Virgil's campaign manager, and I kind of Douglas County insider.
Pitbull.
Yeah,
Pitbull.
Pitbull.
Yeah.
I'm the Pitbull.
So Trent and I, again, we've known each other a long time too, and Trent helped me with my campaign along with many other folks as well. But Trent and I have kind of stayed close as far as local politics, and kind of kept our ear to the ground to make sure that we're in the know all the time. If I don't know about it, he probably does, and if we don't know about it, somebody's going to tell us one way or the other. So we'll find out about it. But anyway, hey, so tonight, folks, again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. We will be taking some questions tonight. Trent will be watching YouTube. I'll be watching Facebook. If you're at whatever your platform you're watching us on tonight, please like and follow and share, especially on YouTube. Like, follow, and share. We're also on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, of course, YouTube, and 13 platforms altogether. And I don't even know the names of all of them, but wherever you like to listen to your podcast, we're probably there. We are now hitting right at around 1 million people every 90 days are watching our podcast. So our message is getting out there. And
All over the country.
it's pretty much all over the country, even Hawaii.
Yep.
So I've had people comment from different states. Recently, I was on a trip to another state, and I had people down there saying, "Hey, you're that guy." So I don't know. Sometimes I don't want to be that guy, but it's but it's kind of cool. Again, we're a conservative voice in Southern Oregon, and we are the voice of rural Oregon. And that's why I'm so excited today to have Senator Drazan with us. Why are you grinning?
It was just, you're that guy. And they always tell me, well, you're a lot shorter in person.
well, and a lot older.
I know.
But anyway, so before we get into our discussion with Senator Drazan, I want to talk a little bit about wildfire. We have a weekly update on wildfire and where we're at throughout the state. And I just want to give everybody a chance to log in, get to our show, so we'll just talk about this for 5 minutes. Today's briefing, their total fire costs now are approaching $290 million. I believe that's about $90 million more than our record, if I'm not mistaken. And Christine, please, by all means, if you hear me say something, jump in. I don't know how we're going to pay for it, but $290 million, that's a record for for Oregon. We have 8 fire management grants approved through federal partners, 75% of the firefighting costs. So I guess that's how we're going to pay for some of it. That's only 75% though. To date, we've had no fire line fatalities to report this week. P&W and federal remain at a preparedness level of 5 with the same shortage of available resources. I get continuous calls from our local contractors on resources, and I've spoken to just almost weekly. I speak with at least 1 or 2 folks who are wanting to get out on the fires and are not being called out on the fires. We're doing everything we can on a state level, and I know that State Representative Boyce and I are putting together a letter. I haven't seen it yet, but we are going to just hit the feds with a letter for the Viper contracts and say, hey, look, we need to make sure that we're considering our local contractors first when the fires are local. There's a lot of things that affect that. Obviously the bid, the price of whatever you bid on Viper. And just again, speaking with Katie Jones here a couple of weeks ago, on the Umpqua itself, there used to be 13 engine tenders, I believe, is what was scheduled for the Umpqua over the past few years. There's 59 of them now. So, everybody wants a piece of the fire dollar. And some people are getting and some people are not. I wish I had more control over it. If I did, I'd be more selective of our local firefighters first, our local contractors first. But it's kind of out of my wheelhouse. So, Christine, are you hearing that same thing? I'm sure you must be hearing it too.
Yeah, across the whole state, people see how big the fires are, and they immediately think, why is my dozer still sitting here? Like
Yeah.
why am I not being called up? And this year in particular, some of the issues really were around supervisors. As you know,
Yes.
we didn't have enough people to supervise the equipment and the crews. And that's how we ended up with 150 individuals coming up from Australia and New Zealand. We brought folks down from Canada. That middle level manager, they are so particular about their ratios for how much equipment and how many people are underneath these supervisors, that if they don't have that level of individual on the line, then they don't call up the asset. And that is a problem too. And it really did impact fire response, and it certainly impacted some of the equipment that was brought to bear when we needed it, as well as some of the individuals that were able to come onto the fire lines.
Yeah, it's a heck of a fire year. Weirdly, Roseburg hasn't really, and I should knock on wood, but we haven't really had a smoke issue. We have had some wildfires locally here, but I have to say, Douglas Forest Protection Agency (DFPA) has literally been jumping on fires as fast as they pop up, and they just put out one here in Olalla last weekend. I think it was 30 acres or roughly, and you know we have amazing fire response here, not just with our DFPA, but also with our local fire departments. And I don't know, we don't thank them enough. I mean, I know what those guys go through. I've been involved in some of it myself, and I really do appreciate the fact that they're keeping us as safe as they can possibly keep us. Um, I have updates on all the fires, and if there's a fire that you have questions on, by all means, message in the comments, and we can address it. But local fires are actually, it looks like we're gaining the upper hand on the Castle Fire and some of these other local fires that we have going in Douglas County. So we are that's good news. We have next week we have a dry cold front moving in. As you know, I think we're supposed to get back to normal weather, and I even heard a slight chance of rain, which is also good news. But they are expecting high winds over the weekend, which are unfortunately prime fire conditions. And I think we all remember 2020 when the Arch Creek fire started. That was on Labor Day weekend, the Tuesday after. And we thought we got through that fire season without any major damage. And then the next thing we had one of the biggest fires we've ever had in Douglas County.
Right.
So, all right, well, let's move on. Christine, you're running for governor, and as far as I'm concerned, you are our next governor. And I wish it was over already. We we
You and me both, buddy.
yeah, yeah. The state is a hot mess, not literally speaking and generally speaking, obviously with fires, but we're a hot mess right now because we have had policy that has put us in a position, and again, this is me, my opinions and from what I've seen, but we have had policies for the last several years that has put the state in a position of it's hard to recover from. And
Yeah.
I want to remind everybody, and part of this program is to teach people politics. I want to remind everybody that Governor Kotek was the Speaker of the House prior to being the governor. Probably the second most powerful person in the state government is the Speaker of the House. She was the one that decided which bills go to committees, and obviously heavily influenced which bills made it to the floor, heavily influenced which bills passed. Which means if you're not happy with your state and you're not happy with our current laws and the way our state's governed, it all started 9 years ago, right? Or actually more than that, probably closer to 12 years ago, 13 years ago, when she was Speaker of the House. Now we have her as governor. I am absolutely thrilled that we have somebody running for governor that I know is not only conservative, but you will make it a point to undo some of the nonsense and get back to normalcy. So, today, and I got a copy of it here, you introduced the Drazan plan to save our state. I don't think that's what you're calling it. You're just calling it the Drazan plan, and it will deliver. Oregon deserves better. So, without further ado, I'm going to just ask you to kind of give us some overview of some of the things, and I highlighted some of this stuff too. So feel free
Yeah.
to go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, so let's just kind of start with what is, I think, one of the most important things to Oregonians, and that's affordability, right? Like housing is expensive, food is expensive, utilities are expensive. And sometimes people will look at that and they will say that's all beyond our control because inflation's everywhere. But we know that that is actually, inflation is all over the place, but we're uniquely expensive because of the policies that people have put in place. And a lot of it we lay at Tina Kotek's feet. So if we're going to talk about energy policy, so what drives costs? Price of gas, price of utilities, price to, run your business and your manufacturing facility or your nursery, whatever it might be. All of that stuff relies on energy, and we know that they are doing everything in their power to make it more expensive here. And that's Tina's climate protection program, which is an executive order that's outside of the legislative process that I'll tear up on day one, that is just a cost driver for everything that impacts energy. And all the money from that program goes directly into the hands of nonprofits that are not benefiting the climate, not benefiting you and I, but just, like sending money off to the special interests and the friends of the powerful.
Well,
So I'm,
and I think, let me interrupt you for a second, Christine. I believe that the dollars we're talking is in the neighborhood of 500 million. Is that what I
oh,
heard?
it's huge. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just got an update saying it was a buck 10 a gallon.
Mm. Oh, no kidding. Wow.
So
That's crazy.
here's the thing, those are estimates. But what we do know is that the intent is to drive people out of their cars, to push people away from natural gas onto electricity. And there is nothing about this plan that is anything but harmful to families and businesses. We
I,
got to
I,
stop it.
I often say on this show and in public that one of the most dangerous things that could happen in our state government is climate legislation, right? Because it can kill the economy. It will change your way of life, not necessarily for the better, unless you live in downtown Portland in a condo and don't own a car and don't work for a living. Then
Yeah.
your life's probably going to get better because we're going to give you free money. Uh,
Yeah.
but uh, but I appreciate you bringing up the climate protection program because most people have no idea what it even is, and they won't know until it hits them in the pocketbook, and that's what
Mhm.
scares the holy heck out of me. So,
Mhm.
feel free to elaborate a little bit on the climate protection program, what it really is.
So it actually is intended to punish businesses that actually emit carbon. So like we're talking about businesses that are out there pouring cement for foundations on homes. Like let's not make this too highfalutin. This is going to affect everybody that does anything in our state. And that's the challenge that we have. And so when I'm looking at what I can do as governor, I can tear up Tina Kotek's executive orders on day one. So I'm going to do that. And then the plan also is a day one executive order that's going to direct all of my agencies to take a look at rules and regulations and procedures that are increasing costs, and and to be able to focus on housing, energy, food, childcare, healthcare, and just do that audit. How are regulations and rules increasing costs across all these sectors that affect Oregonians? I'm committing to veto bills that drive up costs. So the benefit of the governor's office is the veto and the ability to really hold the legislature to account and say, hey, no more. We're not doing those tax increases anymore. We're not going to do these brand new programs and these brand new agendas that are actually going to drive up costs for families. We'll veto that out of the governor's office. And then I'm going to just review unnecessary regulations and roll back the rules and regulations that are actually driving up costs for folks. So that's
So,
all executive branch stuff that I can do immediately on day one around affordability.
I highlighted a bunch of the stuff on your plan, and one of the things I didn't highlight this, but it's something I wanted to ask you about, and that's you listed reform the corporate activity tax, which is CAT tax. A lot of people have no idea what that is. If you own a business and your gross is over $1 million a year, you know exactly what it is. It's a sales tax, but I don't think at this point. I think the CAT tax is so far down the road now; it would be really hard to repeal it. But
Mm-hmm.
what would you do? Or again, governor's not you're not the queen of Oregon. Legislature still has a responsibility in the
Mm-hmm.
state. But what would you do with the cat tax to try to maybe lessen the burden?
Businesses in Oregon have repeatedly asked for accommodations around the cat tax to make it less complex for them to report. I mean, it's really just about their activity within Oregon's borders.
Hmm.
And so, even just tracking that, and what that activity looks like is complex for them. And then they begin reporting at $750,000. We need to look at the cat tax, and it needs to be first simplified, and then we need to raise the floor where people are actually beginning to pay that thing. It should not be at $1 million. I mean, I know it sounds like a huge number, but if you have a business, that actually you get there pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is we're really harming the mom and pops, and we need to look at the stacking effect of the cat tax.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you remember how we talked about some of this, but as you go through the supply chain, every bit of that that's within Oregon's borders and activity here gets the cat tax, attached to that and added onto those costs. So we need to address the stacking nature of it. We need to move it up so it doesn't start at $1 million. We need to simplify it, and frankly, half of that goes to schools through the block grants. The other half is set aside to bloat the Oregon Department of Education.
Yeah.
And so I'm sorry. I am not here to raise taxes on businesses to grow a state agency like the Department of Education, which has done nothing but be an abysmal failure for Oregon families and students.
Oh yeah. And,
So
and we're going to talk about that because I know that's on your list.
it's huge on my list. But the part of that cat tax that just goes for the bureaucracy and to advance a political agenda where schools have to chase grants, that isn't supporting students in the classroom at all today. So the cat tax is raised more than they projected. It continues to be oppressive. It continues to impact costs. And we have proposals from the Prosperity Council. We have proposals from Oregon Business and Industry, lots of groups that actually have to pay this thing every single day are helping us and talking to us about what we can do to make this less oppressive on businesses and less expensive for families. And we need to start to listen. We need to be business friendly in our state and say, hey, we want you to stay. We do not want you to go. The estate tax is sending you away. Cat tax is sending you away. Like a lack of affordable homes, a lack of workforce. All these things are forcing businesses to look at other states. We need to fix that. We need them to stay home. We need them to stay here with us and deliver deliver those jobs here.
Well, and again, part of the purpose of this show is to educate people on politics, and I don't think a lot of folks don't understand. They're just misinformed on the cat tax because they say, well, cat tax doesn't kick in until you're $1 million business. Well, that's not really the case. The cat tax kicks in when you do a gross of $1 million. That doesn't mean you made $1 million. That means you sold $1 million. You might lose $200,000 or $20,000, and you're still going to pay tax on $1 million. And
Mhm.
of course those costs, they get handed on down the ladder, right? And so people going into those businesses, and I don't I locally, I get so irritated when I see social media posts on, people picking on, I don't know, restaurants or whatever it may be. It's like, I don't think people realize how thin of a margin restaurants work on. It's not like they're
Mhm.
getting rich. And I mean, of course there's some that are, chain restaurants, they probably do better than others, but um 0.5% tax on a gross it's an employee.
That's a death nail.
Yeah, well, it's an employee. It's you want
Well,
jobs? Okay. Don't do a tax. You'll have more jobs. I mean, and it just goes on and on and on. But
a
uh
lot of people will say, listen, I didn't make a penny last year. I didn't make a profit. And I'm paying $20,000, $30,000 in a tax to the state when I
yeah.
didn't profit at all.
Yeah.
And that is the shocking thing about the cat tax. It's activity, it's not profit. This is a straight sales tax. It's not retail.
Yep.
It's a sales tax on business activity.
It's funny you say sales tax because Bob Murray just commented it's just a sales tax, and it's spot on, spot on.
Love that.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we could go on some more there, but let's go to the next topic you had, which let's see, you talked about making the state more business friendly.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I highlighted was work for business success by creating correction periods for minor violations and establishing a small business bill of rights. So when I want to say it was in 24, 25, maybe long session, whatever it was, there was DEQ came to us in committee and asked for another $80 million. And I remember talking to them in committee. I said, well, why would you guys need $80 million? Well, we need more employees. I'm like, why do you need more employees? Well, because they have to go out and find more businesses to find, because most of the businesses have left and manufacturing is leaving. So they don't have any way to support themselves. So they come back to the legislature for more money so they can, and I said this in committee, I said, so what you want me to do is give you more bullets to put in the gun that's going to shoot me. No,
Mm.
I'm not going to do that. Of course, I think ultimately they did get something, but I'm not sure what it was. But over-regulation has killed our state. Not just with ODOT policy, but every agency policy. And Christine, speak a little bit to that, because I know that they don't have to come back to us to regulate. They can pass their own. I think it's OARs. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, so it really is, they're shadow laws. And if you're not somebody that owns a business, you might not even know what the Oregon administrative rules are, or what they function to do. But it really is the regulatory burden that's placed on businesses every day that is under the control of unelected bureaucrats. So, like, let's just put this within context here. Virgil's elected. I'm elected. Like, people can say, hey, I don't like the way you're voting, I don't like what you're doing, or hey, I want you to do this instead. We're here to represent the people. But these bureaucrats that run these agencies, that run these boards and commissions, they are actually out there creating laws of a different nature. They're rules, but they operate just like a law on a business that has to abide by it. And they sometimes go well beyond what's in the actual Oregon law. And so it will be just micromanaging every tiny detail of this business and making it harder and harder for the business to comply. And if they don't comply, then they get fined. And for them to comply, they have to pay all these fees. So for the privilege of being regulated by the DEQ, they get to pay for all of these permits and all of these fees. And then the DEQ can come onto their property and basically, in some cases, we have businesses that say that they get harassed. There's no other way to look at it. We have an agency out there that doesn't have a good reputation for how it interacts with businesses that they regulate. And businesses feel like this is an agency that always assumes they're the bad guy and always assumes that what they're doing is there to harm the environment when that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to comply with our laws. But we have an agency in particular with the DEQ that people really do feel like they're out there with some stick trying to beat businesses down.
So I'm gonna campaign a little bit here for you. So who do those agencies report to?
Well, the good news is that they report directly to the governor's office. I mean, they go through their own commissions, and I'm going to give them a little heads up right now. And we're talking about agencies and boards and commissions that, if they are getting in the way of business, if they're getting in the way of a growing economy, if they're driving up costs, then I'm going to release them to go pursue other interests. And I
like that.
and I think that that's going to be fantastic for the future of our state and for businesses across our state to know that we're going to get a clean slate here for people that will want to work together in partnership and make sure that we can follow these rules. We want a good environment. We want to protect water and air and all those things. But you can't be down the last businesses that are still here. We're not going to have any thriving economy or support for public services if you're going to beat the businesses down and send them packing.
Well, and you only need go east of our borders into Idaho and some of the other states that are red states to see that businesses are thriving in some of those states. I'm not saying that they do everything right and we do everything wrong, but they get out of the way of business. And, especially get down to Florida or Texas, they want you there. They want you to do business. And first and foremost, and, we're a blue state, I guess, at least part of our state. Yeah, purple, whatever. Yeah, but part of our state, and unfortunately the better part of our state, gets left out, and we're not at the table a lot, which is why I ran for office, because I like to be at the table, as well as you too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And what better place to put you at the table, at the head of the table? So that would be awesome.
Well, I want to make a difference for Oregonians, and I want to do everything that I can to fix what's broken in our state. And this mindset that government has to grow, and the people of Oregon need to pay the bills for whatever pet projects government and that powerful politicians want to advance, that everybody just owes them that. It's got to stop.
Uh,
Like
it,
it's irrational. It's got to stop.
it really does. Our budget in Oregon has doubled in the last 10 years, I think, and it's what 138 billion last year. I don't even know where we're at in this coming biennium. One of the things that you listed that really caught my eye was the revitalize Oregon natural resources and economy. So, when
Mhm.
I think of natural resources down in this part of the world, I think of two things. I think of the timber industry, and I think of the mining industry. And I don't mean gold mining; I mean rocks, right? I mean, because we take a lot of gravel out of the ground, rocks, boulders,
Mhm.
whatever,
Mhm.
and you know Dogami manages that, and we have all kinds of restrictions on just about everything you can imagine. What would you do to help with the timber industry and some of
You
those
know,
industries?
right now, you were just given the update on wildfire, right? I think
Yeah.
it's incredibly important that we prioritize managing our forests, not just watching them burn. Like our forests are an asset. Instead, we continue to treat them like they're a liability. We set aside all this money, and you were saying this is going to be record spending to respond to our wildfire season on state lands for state fires. Well, we had some money set aside just on the fire in my district up there, the Grasshopper Fire. We have money set aside to actually do a project up there, treatment, thinning, timber sale, however you want to talk about it. It was going to improve that land to the benefit of people and to the benefit of the environment. And instead, we all got sued by Oregon Wild. Now, I would anticipate that the lawsuits will continue and that extremists will continue to use the courts to try to make sure that Oregon burns in the summer. But I'm going to do everything that I can to work with our landowners and to work with our federal administration and to manage our state forests in a way that we can actually have sustainable harvest in our forest. And that is a rational decision, and it will make our forests healthier. It will improve our economy, and it will certainly improve air quality. And it will certainly, stop these mega fires that we've been having to the extent that we've been having them. I mean, this year, to have north of 30 federal massive fires on federal lands and 3+ fires on state lands, it's a lack of management in these forests, and we have
And,
to change that.
and Christine, I want a governor that is going to say when the environmentalists come out of the woodwork to sue the state or sue whoever, I want a governor to say, bring it.
Yeah,
I don't mind. You can take my tax money and you can fight environmentalists all day long. I don't care. I'm good
yeah,
with that, right? We
yeah.
need that. We need people to, these groups, the Sierra Club and some of these groups, Oregon Wild, have been, they are so well funded from our dollars coming through programs
Mhm,
like whatever you call it, the climate
mhm.
protection. We're just giving them the bullets for the gun they're going to shoot us with. And I don't know where it ends.
Yeah.
Recently with this whole movement to green energy, they seem to have forgotten they are also environmentalists, but it's okay to put thousands of acres of solar panels over the top of habitat or, windmills off the coast, which they'd like to do, and kill whales and birds and fish and everything else. Wait a second, guys.
Mhm.
That's did you forget who you were? So
Yeah.
I would love to have a governor that would put their foot down, and I do believe you're tough. I will tell you, you and I work together. I've seen you be tough. There's been days where I'm like, I probably cussed at you before. In fact, I'm sure I have, and you probably cussed at me too. But you know what?
It's good and healthy among friends.
Yeah, and we respect each other. We're friends, but you are a tough person, and you really just don't take crap, and I like that. So I'm complimenting you. Um, I also saw in here another thing caught my eye was development of Oregon's workforce, and I do truly believe that we need to set down our protected class issues and all of our other reasons why we want our kids to not be successful, and we need to say, hey, look, it's time to get back to basics and get back to work. What would you do with the workforce?
Yeah, we have got to take what is our K-12 system that's failing our kids right now, and we have got to recognize that that's their pathway to their future. So, for a lot of kids, college isn't the answer. And frankly, for our colleges right now, they're not necessarily producing degrees that are going to deliver a brighter and better future for kids. So, let's get real serious about the trades. A lot of folks in our trades right now are aging out. We have an
Yeah.
older population of folks that are in our trades. And we need to have more young people go in and become carpenters and welders and HVAC and electricians and plumbers. We need all of it. And for us to do that, we need to make it cool again. It
Well,
cannot just be, it can't just be that everybody goes to college. And I God bless people that go to college. I did, all the things. But we need a connection to careers. We need a connection to work.
Yeah,
And
trade.
that's really something we're missing.
yeah, I agree 100%. I was listening to your interview this afternoon on the radio with Kyle.
Mhm.
One of the things is our education system needs to start holding students accountable again to be responsible to learn what they're getting, like we were.
Mhm.
It's hard for me to sit down with somebody and talk about U.S. history, and they go, "Oh, I didn't know that." It's like, when did you learn that? My son
Mhm.
and I were having a conversation, and I said, "Well, that's sixth grade U.S. history.
Yeah.
You know, knowing everything about the Constitution and all that stuff. I mean, that was just normal stuff. They never learned it. They were
Mhm.
never experiencing it, so they have an adverse opinion of it based off of what, again, you used the term emotional, you
Mhm.
know, because it fit their narrative and rather than the truth. And again, I agree with the trades. We had shop, we had welding, we had woodworking, but it's darn hard to be a welder if you don't know how to add or you know how to
Yes.
read. I mean,
Yes.
if you're a young person out there and you're listening, buckle down. It's the shortest 12 years of your life.
And it'll go
Yeah.
by fast.
Yeah.
It'll go by really
Like
fast.
that. But I also recognize that schools right now, uh, they are so off track for what is actually happening right now in the classroom. I have teachers all the time tell me that they don't feel safe in the classroom because the behaviors from the students are out of control,
Right.
and they're not able to say, you know, Jim, Johnny, Jane, whoever, you need to go to the office. Like that's unacceptable. Like you get to go. And instead, when they have kids that melt down and have behavior issues, the teacher takes the whole class and they do room clears. And kids are learning math in the hallway, sitting in the hallway with their materials, trying to learn in the hallway. And I don't know how long room clears have been happening in Oregon, but I can tell you that they're disruptive, and that for what learning might be happening, it stops it, slows it down, distracts it, and it's not healthy for the kid that's melting down. It's not healthy for the kids that are in the classroom trying to learn, and the
Right.
teachers don't feel as safe. So we've got academics. Let's get back to academics and let's have high standards and expectation. Teach our kids to read by third grade, restore our graduation requirements, get politics out of the classroom, all those important things. And also, we need to recognize that there needs to be some authority and some accountability, not just in our schools, but that is an epidemic across all kinds of categories for homelessness and addiction and public safety and education. We have something that's going on right now inside our culture where we're enabling and supporting behaviors that don't keep people safe and frankly aren't good for the person engaging in those behaviors or the community.
Right.
And it's time for us to remember that we have rules and laws for a reason, and it is compassionate to have standards. It does provide respect, mutual respect, and dignity and opportunity to hold people to high expectations. We need to do it in our schools, and we need to do it on our streets.
Yep.
So, just a quick question. This is a little bit off topic, but I agree with everything you just said. W- It's so common sense, everything you just said. I mean, there's nothing special about it.
Right.
It's like, hey, this is how it should be. Have your kids have responsibilities. I mean, heck, when I was a kid, there was things I had to do. I had chores to do. What happened? Why is it that and I'll just say it because it's true, our Democrat Party and the legislature, both the House and the Senate, just seems like they have forgotten their way. Um,
Yeah,
why is
yeah,
that? I mean, what
yeah.
they have
So,
kids too.
yeah, they have kids too. I heard the phrase toxic empathy, and it kind of stuck with me a little bit that you have people that are so determined to empathize with the story or the background or this trauma that they forget that whatever that person just did also matters. Like there
Right.
might have been something that happened in their distant past that's real tough, and that's legitimate. That happens. People have hard things that happen, and that for some people it really crushes them, and for other people they develop character through it, and it becomes part of their life story that helps shape their opportunity for achievement. And it's different for everybody, right? But that doesn't change the fact that each of us needs to have high expectations. We all need to know that we have something we have to contribute. And for us to be able to contribute to our own lives and to our communities, that takes effort, that takes work, that takes a commitment. You have to be willing to put in the time as a human being to learn something and to have something to contribute. And you have to sometimes decline to do the thing that is going to hurt you, like drugs, if you want to be a part of society and be able to contribute. And for the people that are facing addiction on our streets, I've talked to so many people that are in long-term recovery, they all say the thing that changed their lives was accountability. Whether or not it was a nudge from a judge or a loved one or jail, or there's always a moment for all of them where there was a point where they were held accountable and then they could choose better for themselves. We need to do that for our kids right away in the
Well,
classrooms. The kids that want to achieve and want to thrive, they need to have classrooms that let them do that. And the
yeah.
kids that don't understand how important that is, we need to have some accountability for them so that they don't slip between the cracks.
And I feel like younger, not just kids, but younger folks now in the workforce, particularly labor workforce. I remember when I was first started at the mill. I mean, the peer pressure was incredible, right? I mean, you did your job. If you didn't do your job, you went home feeling like you had your tail between your legs because all of your
Mm-hmm.
colleagues, it was almost like there was they were kind of like baptizing you with fire, so to speak. But on the other hand, I learned how to pull green chain, and by God, if you're on the green chain and you're on there for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days and you're still not cutting it, they'll
Yeah.
get rid of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I feel like, of course,
Yeah.
we don't have green chains anymore. They're all automated. But now I feel like when you go, even in the mill or any labor job, it's
Mhm.
almost like there's this protected class, right? It's like, well, you can't call somebody out. You can't say, well, you're not doing a good job. It's a participation trophy, and I hate
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
I like
Well,
what you.
and you were doing a dangerous job, Virgil.
Well,
And so if you couldn't do it, for them not to pull you out was dangerous to you.
yeah.
And I mean, the
Look,
mill is
I
less safe if somebody's not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Oh, I did more dangerous jobs. I set chokers before too, and I hated every
Um,
bit of
well,
Yeah.
all those jobs. But you know what? Uh, you know, nobody gave me anything for free.
Right.
I mean, I worked my butt off to get to where I'm at today, which isn't, I'm not by any means rich, but I take care of myself. I
yeah.
have a business, but it's almost like entitlement feeling, and I always say this: it's leaning more and more towards socialism, and I hate that because I don't like socialism at all.
Well, and getting back to the root cause, it's all through the leadership. If you go, and we're still talking about the schools, you go to the schools, the teachers today. I really like what you said today about we got to teach kids to learn
Mm-hmm.
versus teach them what they need. Uh,
Yeah.
there's so much subversion being taught at the grade school level right now. It, it makes me want to throw up. Uh, they're teaching everything. I'm gonna say it. They're
Say the hard
teaching
stuff.
everything. It's okay to be transgender when you're 11 years old.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be this, and it's rather than can you read? Do you know
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
2 times 2 is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The things that will actually get you through life to get you to that point where you can work hard and go against the peer pressure and be successful. Because nobody is expecting greatness out of these kids. They're hurting them.
Yeah. It's priorities.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I keep saying that we need our schools to prepare the next generation of entrepreneurs, not
Yes.
the next generation of activists.
Right.
And that is
So well said. So well said.
like, we need that from our schools.
Right.
I mean that we have a constitutional duty to provide public schools to Oregon students, and let's do that well. Let's recognize that those academics are essential to their future. And as they talk a lot right now about whole child education, you and I would call that parenting.
Yeah.
So let's allow for that to be parenting again, and
Right.
let's expect our schools to be able to prepare our students to achieve.
Bring back, bring back SWATs. I had my name on the vice principal's SWAT. It was, I mean, whatever. Anyway,
I broke the
You're
paddle.
losing me, Virgil. You're losing me, guys. You're losing me.
I know, I know. We all right. I'm gonna so I'm gonna touch on the hard stuff for a minute, and it's in your plan.
Mm-hmm.
And Southern Oregon suffers from this immensely, and that is the homeless issue. And so, in this part of your plan, you call it the break the cycle of homelessness and addiction. Um,
Yeah.
I am one of those people that I do not blame all homelessness on addiction, and there's lots of reasons why people are homeless: mental health, addiction. Hell, some people just want to be that way. Uh, Go ahead if you would. I highlighted prioritize addiction recovery, long-term sobriety, and mental health treatment. I think one, tell us where the money comes from for that, because I think most
Yeah.
people don't understand. And what would you do?
Yeah. So to begin with, if someone is facing addiction in Oregon, they are very likely eligible for the Oregon Health Plan. And so, since addiction is considered a disorder, the financing, the financial end of how do we pay for this, actually ends up being through their health insurance, which is oftentimes the Oregon Health Plan, which is a federal program that gets both state and federal dollars to fund it. So the money is currently there. And for people that are voluntarily going into those programs, it's typically paid for through the Oregon Health Plan. When we're talking about people that are facing addiction that are in the criminal justice system, it's a little different. They have access to services to help them get clean if they're in, your local jail, but they might not have access to those same services if they commit a serious person-to-person crime and they end up in prison, right? If you're in the penitentiary or something along those lines, the access to services is pretty different. But let's start first with this idea for the last 12 years, 15 years. Let's go all the way back to the Obama era. The approach to homelessness has said everyone on our streets just lost their job and couldn't make rent and had no family or support, and now they're homeless. Like, it's 100% under our current leadership, all the way back to the Obama era, including Tina Kotek, a housing first problem. Now, we know that that's not true, that the majority of people on our streets today are facing mental health challenges and addiction challenges. It's not 100% of any one category, but a majority do have issues around addiction and mental health. So to just completely ignore that and say, "Hey, we're gonna give you a key to a tiny house or a key to a hotel room and you're going to be fine," hasn't played out that way. Those folks are just beating the crap out of those units because they've been living on the streets and they're not prepared yet to live independently on their own, and they're tearing up those spaces, and now they're not habitable until somebody spends more money to repair the drywall and to fix the place up again and then move it on to the next person. That's expensive, and it's also not working for the person that's homeless. It's not what they actually need. They actually need to be able to get clean. They actually need to be able to get into rehab and long-term sobriety. And for people that are facing mental health challenges, they need to be assessed. They need to be able to have an opportunity to be able to get help, to be stabilized, and then so that they can make choices, regain executive function, so that they can then get a job, participate in their own lives, and again contribute to their own lives and support their families, themselves, and engage in their own community. In the meantime, for folks that are in fact traditionally, I really did lose my job. I'm living in my car. This is a short-term, immediate crisis for me. We need to prioritize those folks and immediately get them out of harm's way. The street is no place for them. They need to be prioritized for the spaces and the beds that are available, to make sure that they can then get access to help, to find that next job, to get back on their feet, to get in line for for the social supports that are needed for them to re-engage again. Those tough times happen. Things happen in people's lives like that, and
Yeah.
so we have the housing for that. We have the space for that. We need to make sure to prioritize those populations. And for people that are facing behavioral health and mental health, They need to move through a process of accountability, and they need to be able to have a pathway to get clean.
You know, I wish we had, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours to talk about all these topics in depth because there's so much more to say. But I sure appreciate you spending the time you are with us, and we're going to hit a couple more things real quick. I just want to announce our sponsors because these guys are actually paying for this program to happen. And this program doesn't happen for free. This costs us every episode. First, I want to acknowledge that Spider King Studios is one of the guys behind the scene. Jake's sitting back there right now, making us all look good, sound good. I don't know about looks, but anyway, he's
Tall
doing
and
something.
thinner.
Yep, tall and thinner.
Yeah.
Also Justin with Little Mill Media, who is basically was the person that started this whole thing for us and has been with us for a couple of years, and we sure appreciate all those guys do. I always say this as well. If you want to start your own podcast and you don't know how to do it, come down here and see them. I mean, that's what they
Yeah.
do. They have lots of other irons in the fire, but they're really good at what they do. And as you see this beautiful set we have, if you really could see the rest of what's behind us and what's out in front of us, you'd probably go, "Oh wow, I thought this was somebody's house," but it's
Oh,
not.
there's
It's
a basketball hoop.
yeah, there's
and
basketball hoops.
hot
And,
tub
yeah,
over here. No.
I want to say first off, our sponsors, Senator David Brock Smith is one of our longtime sponsors, and we appreciate him. He's running against Jeff Merkley in our federal race, and we are 100% supporting him, hoping he does well there, along with Christine. We also have Becky Holmes Insurance, and I don't have her ad with me tonight, but Becky Holmes, yeah, I do. No, I don't. Becky Holmes Insurance is probably our longest supporter of our broadcast that we put on here. She's going to probably kick my butt for not having her ad. Aha. So just move. Don't leave your health care behind. Relocating triggers strict Medicare deadlines, and local plans are changing fast. Avoid dangerous coverage gaps. Get the facts with a free Medicare first look. Protect your health and your welfare. Becky Holmes Insurance, 541-900-6001. That's Becky Holmes Insurance, 541-900-6001. And Becky, I hope you don't hate me tonight for being slow on the read, but I got you in there anyway. Who else?
Well, we got Looking Glass Brewery, one of our main sponsors, and that's where we name our. That's kind of where we brain trust.
Yeah, that's how we got the On the Verge name.
That's right.
Was drinking a beer at Looking
That's-
Glass Brewery. That's
that's-
right. I do drink beer, and I'm
that-
conservative.
That's right. Beer makes us smarter. That's what Mark told me.
Yeah.
But on Tuesdays now, well, they're serving food.
Yep.
Their own food. They do sandwiches, and tonight they do street tacos that are pretty amazing. And they have bourbon slushies that are pretty cool too. I mean,
Yeah, I don't drink bourbon slushies
Yeah.
very often.
yeah, me either.
Okay, I do.
Every week.
They're really good. They taste just like the 7-Eleven Slurpees, only you don't want to drink as many.
Yeah. And then
Um,
Bob Murray Trucking.
Yep.
Bob's watching. He's watching us tonight. Bob's company. Speaking of that's adversely affected by a lot of the environmental stuff. You know, his company hauls over 1 million pounds of earth products a day, whether it's gravel, lumber, or trees or whatever. And he does fire mitigation. And he says, "You call, we haul. That's all." You know, and I
Well-
love that motto, man.
Bob's a big supporter and
Of the
not-
party.
of the party as well as our campaigns.
Yes, he's a good
supported-
man.
He's supported. Actually, I think he supported you as well. So Bob is a wonderful guy, and I always appreciate. I see him pop up on there all the time, and I always appreciate the fact that he's watching us because he's a good dude.
And an example of American exceptionalism. Born and raised here, started to work for a company, started his own company on a risk, on a dime with no money, and built a very large company, worked hard
Yeah.
to get there.
Yeah, we appreciate him. Also, I don't want to forget Commissioner Chris Boyce. Commissioner
Yeah.
Chris Boyce has been a longtime supporter. He's a good friend of mine, longtime supporter of our show as well, and just a great guy. I mean, our commissioners in this county, they are tasked with trying to make a county survive financially that has lost its way, and they take a lot of heat for that. The reality of it is we lost our industry here, and that didn't come from Douglas County. That came from our federal government, and that came from our state government. If
Right.
we ever get back to trying to make people's lives better, which I believe Christine will get us there,
Yep.
we might actually have a prosperous county again. And my hat's off to these guys. You know, it's interesting. People don't understand what commissioners do. And again, we try to teach them that. Part of that is part of this show. But the responsibilities that those guys have and some of the things, you don't have to love every commissioner, but respect the job. Respect what those guys do. It's not easy. I
Mm-mm.
mean, they're running the budget. So Chris Boyce, Commissioner Chris Boyce, thank you, and we're supporting him as well in his race against his competitor. And I think that got all of our local sponsors. Andrea Williams, Abdicare, is also another one of our sponsors. I haven't talked to her much in a little bit, but she has been a longtime sponsor, and we don't want to forget her. Thank you, Tracy, for letting me know that. I have my chief of staff sitting over here on the
And,
other couch reminding me of the people I forgot as well.
and if you have a Jeep like I do that breaks,
Oh,
Twin Peaks
oh,
Off Road,
yeah.
man.
My company, Twin Peaks Off Road. I always
Yeah.
forget to mention my own company, right?
Yeah.
And we that's what we do. We do off road work, and sometimes we get roped into some other stuff as well. But we are happy to be a sponsor of this show as well. Okay, let's get back. We have about we're kind of running out of time. We're getting down to the last of our hour, and Christine, I'm sure you have lots of things you need to be doing as well. But I have one more topic I wanted to touch on, and you know, I know I highlighted support law enforcement. I don't even need to know that. I already know you do, and they love you for it, and we appreciate it as well. But the last part was unlock the door of home ownership.
Yep.
And yeah, so I'll preface by saying that I was sitting in our long session the first day of 2023 when our governor came into the building and said, "We are going to build 36,000 homes, and we're going to create a market and build, we haven't done anything like that. Not even close. I think 13,000 was about as many as we got. And, of course, we can talk about all the restrictions, but I want to give you a chance to say, and I did highlight, make more land available for housing.
Yeah. So this is an area that benefits everybody across our state. We need more supply if we are going to have more availability of houses that are more affordable for Oregon families, for that first time home buyer, for that family that's been renting a while and they're ready for their first home. They should not have to say, "What? That's $500,000." Like, we need homes that are actually affordable for first-time home buyers. So that means that we've got to speed up our permitting process, because truly, truly, time is money. We need to do everything we can to add opportunities for more land to be brought in that is eligible for housing. Now, you and I, Verge, we would never give up on farmland. We're not going to give up on any of that. But what we have right now is an irrational approach to some of these boundaries that was a set it and forget it mindset all those years ago. And it's time to have a very real conversation about what our priorities are today to make sure that there's space for homes to be built rationally.
Right.
And to protect our values. We're still Oregonians. We still want our farmland to be protected. We still want our forest land to be healthy and active. And so, but we shouldn't have to choose between that and housing. And again, environmental extremists and people have been abusing our land use system for a long time, doing everything they can to slow these projects down. And we need to make sure that houses get built. So that means permitting. It means land use. It means more land, and it also means ensuring that government's not getting in the way.
Right.
So in Douglas County, we deal with wetlands issues. It's really hard to build anything here, and this is the part that I watch the other side of the aisles podcast from local here, and they talk about how we don't have any housing and we need to have all this housing built. I'm telling you, pull your head out of the sand. Go try to buy a permit to build a home anywhere in Roseburg. You cannot do it because there's wetlands, or whatever the case may be, or restrictions from the planning, from the master plan or whatever from the state. We tried to in this. Well, I guess it was a statewide issue. We tried to pass where you could split ranches up into 20-acre parcels and be able. I can't remember the name. They had a name for it. It was kind of a catchy name. The environmentalists came out of the woodwork to stop
Yeah.
that. And,
Yeah.
it was not focused on farmland. It was only land that was non-productive land that could be put into that category,
Right.
to be built on. And sometimes I just sit there and I want to just scream out, "You guys won. You ruined the state. You stopped
Yeah.
all forward progress. You stopped the ability for us to use our forest. You stopped the ability for us to manage our forest. You stopped the ability for us to do anything outside of really nothing. And now you're taking away our rights to drive our cars. You'd like to take our guns away. Right now, you guys are winning." We're going to have to turn that
They're
around.
not taking the guns. I'm sorry.
Well, they're not
Well,
going. They might get.
here's the thing about housing, though. So I mean, you pointed out some of the regulations that are unique to Oregon. When I'm talking about reviewing regulations and changing the regulations that are making us uniquely uncompetitive, making it uniquely unaffordable and expensive here in Oregon, that's housing. That's housing.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the land use rules that are keeping people from building on land that is not a wetland, that's not a wetland. Why is it designated a wetland? I don't know. What kind of analysis did they have to do to prevent somebody from being able to build a house there? Like, let's have rational conversations about what we're actually looking at. Is that productive farmland? Well, why aren't we building on it? If it's not productive farmland, if it is has been designated as exclusive farm use from 1972 and hasn't been looked at again, let's have the conversation. We have got to figure out where we can build.
They'll damn sure put a solar panel on it, though. They don't care about that.
Yeah.
Literally hundreds of thousands of acres now. And
Yeah.
I was just in, like I mentioned at the beginning, Sherman County. I cannot believe how solar farms have taken over wheatlands over there. And it impacts habitat, it impacts fire safety, wildfire response. Like, it's such a concern for fire risk out there, and it's certainly a concern for habitat. These huge fences, and you have these huge solar panels out for acre after acre after acre after acre out there. And it's all on what used to be productive wheat farms. So we're giving up on farming in a lot of ways in our state, and while at the same time saying that we can't put a house somewhere that isn't a farm. It's irrational. It's irrational.
It really is, and it's either going to have to stop or it's going to correct itself at some point. I mean, and that we don't want to let it self-correct, because when that day comes, it's going to be bad for everything.
Right.
I mean, people are leaving the state as fast as they can get out of the state. Okay, we are down to the last few minutes of our time, and Christine, I would just love for you to close and tell us anything that we missed and any message you'd like to get across.
So first, I just want to thank you guys for having this opportunity. This is a big deal. You and we engage with the public all the time, and people have questions. And podcasts like this give people an opportunity to kind of better understand issues and spend a little bit of time thinking about things that they might not otherwise see in their local Facebook group or on their local news. It's a terrific opportunity. So thanks for including me. So running for governor is an opportunity for me to serve my fellow Oregonians. I love this place. There's nothing that I wouldn't do to help pull Oregon out of the ditch. But I can't do it alone. Politics is a team sport, and I need people to be willing to get on the team and pull with me and try to do everything that we can to fix what's broken in Oregon. This is an incredible place. We have boundless opportunity here and extraordinary people, extraordinary natural resources. We just need better leadership. And I want to have the opportunity and the privilege to be able to provide that in service to the people of the state. So more information on the Drazan plan, because we went through quite a bit of it, but there's more details online. And it is under christineForOregon.com, and it's just simply the Drazan plan.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Trent, you got anything you want to close
Absolutely. First of all, thank you, and we'll see you in October for our dinner, which is going to be exciting. I just want to reiterate again, and I know some of our naysayers are watching tonight. I had some conversations today, and I'm going to state that what you've been voting for hasn't worked for the last 40 years. What makes you think that Tina Kotek's going to fix anything? She's not. She laughed at her business group, we have friends on that group who are brilliant businessmen. And they gave her great ideas to grow Oregon business. And that was nothing more than a political stunt.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for those guys that were on that board. And I know for a fact, because I've listened to you enough and met you enough now to know that you're listening, and this is the change we need for Oregon, you guys. Somebody said, well, she doesn't have a plan. Well,
Hey,
go to
hey,
her
you do
website.
now.
She has a plan, and it's a good plan. And some people, well, it's all about business. Well, without business, we don't have no jobs.
Yeah.
So thank you again, and we're behind you 100%.
We are. We're definitely behind you. I just want to close real quick with, again, thank you to all of our viewers for coming on and watching us. We're hitting over 1 million people in our 90-day analytics now, which is just amazing for the podcast to get that much.
2 guys from Winston.
Two guys from Winston that put this on. And but what the really cool part about it is I'm getting comments from people from Hawaii, from other states that are talking, I mean, and like they'll send us messages, or you'll just see people in California and Washington like, hey, you're that guy. Well, my whole intent of being that guy is to help our local, Oregonians have a better life.
Right.
And we're trying to educate people on, we're not on here you don't hear me on here cutting down Democrats. I don't do that. You don't hear me on here cutting down Republicans. I don't do that either. It's about our way of life. And whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or whatever you may be, we all suffer the same consequences for the bad decisions that are made in Salem. And it's time to turn that around, and that's our goal here. And I'll leave it at that. Again, follow us. We're on 13 different platforms: Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube. Wherever you like to listen to your podcast, you can tune in. We're probably there. It's On the Verge, and it's spelled like my name, VIRG, On the Verge. And we'd love to have you as one of our regular followers. So, Christine, with that, I'm going to say one more time, thank you so much for joining us. We are 100% behind you, as Trent says. Our local Republican Party is 100% behind you. We're going to support you, and anything we can do down here, whatever that may be, putting signs out, whatever we can do for you,
Yeah.
Just let us know. So
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
absolutely.
it.
Yep.
And with that, everybody have a great week. I don't know how we're going to top this next week for a guest. I think we probably had the best one in the state tonight, but
It's busy.
well, yeah. If anybody's interested in coming on the podcast, if you can beat Christine, come on. And no, we're not going to allow Kotek on our podcast. Sorry, we're not. We're not. I draw the line at that. Anyway, thanks and have a great night, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.